this presentation we're calling the M&T Salon. So it's a compendium of hardware products that were developed and designed, software products that were developed and designed, some musical products that are pre-recorded for this particular event, and some amazing sound design for films and animations as well. So it's super cool. And I am going to be behind the scenes, sort of helping my colleague, Kellen, a Faculty of Music and Tech, to manage the show. So enjoy it. And MC, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
And is it correct, Professor Harari, that the order of the sheet is the order that they're happening in, right? So first is Nolan Vernon. You just muted.
Yes, that is correct. And
so I'm going to go just in order down the list and hope that we're all set. So it's my pleasure to introduce Nolan Vernon, whose advisor this year was Professor Diaz de Leon. And he's got a product demonstration and in a video format. So I'll hand the floor over to Nolan. Take it away.
And here's his video.
You might need to share sound. Oh, there we go.
Effects section. Because I only have 5 minutes here. Hi, I'm Nolan Vernon, and this is my senior thesis project, Spectre. My goal with Spectre was to create a semi-modular synthesizer for heavy music styles. Essentially, it's split up into 4 sections: an oscillator section, an amplifier section, a filter and modulation section, and an effects section. Because I only have 5 minutes here, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into some video and audio demos.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nolan. Congratulations. You saw from the chat comments that people were absolutely digging it. So congratulations. I'm going to move on for the sake of making sure that we keep this program flowing here. Next up is Maxwell Schwartz. This is the creation of an original score and sound design for a short film. Max's advisor is Ayşegül Durakoglu. So please take it away.
Hello. So for my project, I took a short film called The Neighbor's Window and redid the sound design for it and did 3 different scores to focus on the effect of the musical impact and the emotional capacity of the film. So with this film, it's a pretty simple film. There's 2 characters, Ali and Jacob. They're a couple, and there's their neighbors, and it explores kind of the interpersonal connection between them and their neighbors and how it develops, and wanting something you don't have. So my goal was to make the musical motifs similar to like how John Williams and Wagner use those things to represent dramatic elements through their music, and see how much I could get out of such a simple musical idea in multiple variations to draw out the complexness of the emotions in the film. So I'm going to play the first scene, which is Ali and Jacob, and then there are 2 motifs. There's a triplet figure, which represents Ali, and it's normally descending because she is the one that descends and then comes back through this emotional turmoil. And then Jacob has a kind of half-step theme because he's the grounded bass that is always bringing her back to reality throughout the entire movie.
Fantastic. Okay, next up on our roster is Nate Wilson. This is an audio presentation. Nate's advisor, senior thesis advisor, was Professor Diaz de Leon, and this is a rap/trap style album. So we're going to hand over the platform to Nate.
Whoa. I was really going on the road to the greatness, but then I really know I was holding myself back for more. So I got right back up and do it all. I can do what I want if I put my mind to it. Thank you for all the people that listen to my music. We gonna get back here, we gonna roll. Cause you already know that we gonna roll. All the people that couldn't be here today to be free. But I know this to be there for me to be free. Look at all that we could do, like can't you see? Me and Flex be going crazy with these beats. Well, if you want this, if you want that, let me know quick, I'ma right back. I don't got plans, baby, in the Cadillac. We could really just chill, roll on up and relax like that, like that. Tipping cognac, bump a little Kodak, running to the money and we never look back. So what's the deal, girl? Is this for real, girl? Yeah, I need to know. I'll be right here, girl. Tomorrow's near, girl, but now I'm going home. And it's just real, girl. I said for real, girl. Yeah, let me know.
Thank you, Nate. Fantastic. Great work. Great. We're going to move on. Next on the list, or next in our roster, is Justin Chiola, who will be doing a visual presentation of an original animation, including original score. And Justin's advisor is Professor Harari. So I will turn the floor over to Justin Chiola.
Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Chiola, and thank you for tuning into my senior thesis at the Music and Technology Salon. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my senior thesis that takes on embedding audio directly into animation. Let's get started. Okay, so we're here in Character Animator with my rig Miles. Now, when I say rig, what I mean by that is essentially it's a piece of illustration, this illustrated character, and basically I tell the computer what I want it to look like with all of these different points. You know, I have bones for the arms and I have joints for the elbows, you know, different things like that. They each have their own individual tag. One other thing that also has a tag are these mouse cycles. As you can see when I'm speaking, Miles speaks, you know, in time with me. So when I have an L sound, like an L, you know, he'll have that L viseme ready. So what's amazing about this is that you can instantly take, you know, either live recordings of audio, or you can take pre-recorded ADR sessions and turn them into amazing mouse cycles, you know, within a matter of half an hour to an hour tops, you know, depending on how much effort you want to put into it. You know, you can maybe put 2 hours into editing the, you know, the specifics to get those mouth cycles exactly timed correctly. So if we go into Miles's rig here, I have what's known as a swap set. Don't worry so much about that. But basically, it allows me to move between a neutral emotion, a happy emotion, and a sad emotion with all of his mouth fixtures, right? Because if you have a happy mouth, you're going to have this slight curve up, and if you have a sad mouth, you're going to have a slight curve down. Like if we have a D here, you know, it's got sort of a flat perspective to it. You know, whenever I make a D sound, you know, your teeth are kind of together, right? And if you have an O sound, you know, your mouth is kind of open, you have this curve to it, right? And an F sound, you know, you're going to kind of be biting on your lip. So all of these different visemes are taking place, and they're being coded in real time into his timeline over here, as you can see by the swirling ball of death. So if I were to go and record Miles right now, right? Let's say I wanted to record a live ADR session. You know, it would give me a countdown timer down here, and then I would just say whatever I want to say in real time into the mechanism here. So if I take that, and not only will it give me the audio, it will also allow me to go down through the structure here and see that it printed in real time these visemes to my timeline, so that when I play it back, it will correspond with what I wanted to say. So now it's time to export all of this. You know, I really like what I've got here. I made something amazing with Miles. So you might be thinking it's time to export it as a video file, which of course, you know, you can do that, but I want to preserve the transparency of Miles, right? I want him to be able to roam freely in any world that I want to place him in. In animation, traditionally, you don't want to have a bunch of white, you know, we don't have white boxes around us in real life. So what I do here, instead of creating a video, I sort of nod to traditional animation and create frame-by-frame PNG sequences. PNGs are nice because they allow transparency in each individual frame, and they're also lossless, so I won't be losing any visual data when I export. So I'll go to PNG sequence and wave here, and essentially what I'll get is a great deal of sequences that look like this. It'll be a bunch of individual frames with transparency, you know, nothing behind it, and I'll be able to play these back in real time and give the illusion of a video, you know, because that's basically all the videos are moving images in real time. All right, that's going to be my time slot for the M&T Salon. Thank you guys for tuning in to my thesis on ADR and animation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the salon.
That was great. Thank you very much, Justin. Very cool. Fantastic. Okay, next we have Jack Kostelnik. Jack's advisor is Professor Pfefferman, and we've got an audiovisual presentation here on a VR project, original sound design / score to a Minecraft capture. So I will hand over the floor to Jack.
Hi, everybody. So my presentation, my thesis, is an exploration of binaural panning in video games as an application of teleplastic technologies. So the entire project itself is a redesign of all the sound and music for a recorded scene from a video game, that game being Minecraft. I have two main goals for this project. One of the main goals is to take advantage of a concept called Teleplastic Technologies. It's a principle laid out by a researcher and professor named James Ash, and it basically describes the relationships between different aspects or different senses within a virtual environment. The way that it can be applied is by limiting one aspect or sense and expanding upon a different aspect or sense. In my example in Minecraft, the visual aspects of the game are already pretty limited. It's pixelated, there's a limited point of view. So I'm going to be expanding upon the Sonic universe. The second main goal is to improve accessibility to the game, which is already pretty accessible, but there are some holes in its accessibility. So I wanted to improve accessibility for visually disabled players or visually impaired players. And to achieve both of these goals, I'm going to be using binaural panning. In order to really accurately and correctly do this, I had to focus on what I was going to pan binaurally in my scene before I even began recording. Additionally, I wanted to make sure I wasn't just relying on binaural panning to achieve these teleplastic technology relationships. Another relationship I wanted to focus on for that reason was the relationship between fake and real. And when I say fake and real, I mean fake as in a more Minecraft video game Sonic universe, and real as in real world field recording high fidelity universe. For that reason, as you can see in these pictures, I was out in the field doing a lot of real field recording high fidelity work with chickens, pigs, other animals, wind recordings, fields, just real high crispy ambiances that I could then play with sound synthesis later on to create that relationship between fake and real. When it came to applying these things, I had to think about what tracks I was going to pan. And in order to think about what tracks I'm going to pan, I had to keep in mind two things: the balance of my goals and scene and specific to each scene. In order to balance my goals, I had to make sure that I was creating like a sonically diverse universe that was applying these teleplastic technologies without becoming too disorienting and overwhelming for visually impaired players. So for that reason, I had to think about scene specifics as well. In the bottom example, you can see there's a lot more going on the screen. I had to kind of pick and choose what I was going to pan binaurally in order to make sure I wasn't overwhelming players with too many things going across the screen. But I also had to keep it interesting. So you see up in scene one, there's not as much going on. So I made sure before I even created the visuals, I was thinking about what was going to be there and what I was going to pan in order to make it interesting. So I'm going to share a 1-minute clip from this. It's not panned, or it is panned binaurally, but it can't be viewed in binaural or listened in binaural because of Zoom's limitations. So I highly recommend taking a listen afterwards. You're going to hear it in stereo right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Great work. Fantastic. Okay, next is Jung Park. Jung Park's advisor is Professor Harari, and the thesis project was an album project inspired by jam band compositional technique. This is an audio presentation. Take it away, Jung. Great. I think you saw all the comments there, John. A lot of great comments for you. Next on our list is Frank Lombardo, whose thesis advisor was Professor Harari. Frank was also the first Cal participant in the Ansary Entrepreneurship Competition. So we're very excited by that. This is a paper presentation about acoustical design and the fabrication of acoustical treatments for a client. All right, take it away, Frank.
Hello, my name is Francesco Lombardo, graduating senior from the Music and Technology program in the College of Arts and Letters at Stevens Institute of Technology, here to introduce you to Sounds Natural, my senior thesis project. As environmental sustainability becomes a bigger focus in many different industries, it's important to be mindful of the materials we are using in our everyday products. In the field of acoustics, many different sound absorptive materials are used. These materials can range from foam, insulation, egg cartons, and various synthetic fibers. At Sounds Natural, we want to introduce an environmentally friendly alternative to acoustically treating various spaces. Our innovation uses coconut fibers as the sound absorbent material instead of synthetic man-made material. Coconut fibers are harvested from the husk of coconuts. The fiber is biodegradable, and the harvesting process requires minimal land, water, and energy use. Coconut fiber can also last up to 4 years untreated. I coated them with a sealant to make them last longer. When designing this project, it went through a few iterations before settling on a final plan. The initial plans were quite different from the final project. Once the design was finalized, construction began. The first baffles were built 4 by 2 foot in size. The materials used were 2 8-foot pieces of 2x4 whitewood and window screen for the backing. Data was collected using 2 microphones, the Behringer B2 Pro dual diaphragm condenser microphone and the Behringer ECM 8000 measurement condenser microphone. Preliminary tests were conducted in a small office space about 15 by 15 feet. The panels were installed in Mamma Mia 1 in Miami, Florida. This location is a family-run restaurant that has been in business for over 25 years. 8 panels were installed at about 6 feet off the ground. Once the baffles were installed in the restaurant, 2 sets of measurements were taken. One measurement was done with the untreated space and one with the treated space. I used a linear sine sweep and a logarithmic sine sweep. I set up a speaker in 9 different points of the restaurant and played the sine sweep. The microphones were set up at 5 foot and 10 feet away from each location. Once I had recorded all of my data, I used a spectrogram to compare the frequencies between the treated space and the non-treated space. Results showed that the panels were effective at attenuating lower end frequencies and sometimes attenuated frequencies across the board. Certain results, though, did not show much or any difference between the untreated and treated spaces. I would call the results very variable. I do think that adding more panels and thicker coconut fiber would have helped alleviate the problem. A business plan was also created outlining the foundations of starting Sounds Natural as a company as well as a 5-year financial plan. The business plan consists of the executive summary, mission statement, company description, market analysis, organization and management, product line, and marketing. After a few revisions to the project and further testing, I believe this business plan is a great guide to launching Sounds Natural as its own company. This project really pushed me in many different ways. Working during the pandemic was a big challenge, and luckily I had the workspace at home. I also had to learn many things from scratch, such as measuring spaces for acoustic evaluation and actually building baffles. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to Professor Rob Harari, who was instrumental in guiding me through the project. I'd also like to give a thank you to the College of Arts and Letters for the funding provided that enabled me to buy more materials and supplies. Also, a huge thank you to my mom, who dealt with having her garage filled with coconut fibers for a few months. Thank you all for listening to our presentation.
Thank you, Frank. And you've given great justification for why, for the first time, College of Arts and Letters budget was used to buy coconuts. So I really appreciate that. Is Ian Greshak here in the room? If not, we'll cycle back if he comes in, but I'm going to move on. Last chance, Ian. Okay, we're going to move on and we'll come back to Ian. Esteban Ros is doing a rap/trap style album. This is an audio presentation. Esteban's advisor is Professor Diaz de Leon. So I will hand over the floor to Esteban. Thank you, Esteban. That was both cool and good, indeed. Next, we're going to move. Great job, great job. Next is August Leida. August's thesis advisor is Professor Diaz de Leon, and this is an audio presentation of Chicago house techno-styled dance music. right. Thank you, August. That was eliciting some very spirited reactions there in the chat window. Great job. Fantastic.
Still going, Colin. August is still going.
Oh, still one. Okay, we're gonna let it keep going. All right, congratulations. It's both clean and dank, apparently. There's some real interesting contra reactions there, but congratulations, August. Next, we have Sergio Scardino and Martin Trogani. Their advisor was Professor Pfefferman, and they're going to be doing a live presentation of a concert interview. So I will hand the floor over to Sergio and Martin.
All right, hello everyone. Martin, would you like to intro our project real quick?
Yeah, hi, I'm at work, so if you hear any noises, I'm sorry. What we did was we decided that you know, in lieu of having a lot of live shows, because you know we obviously can't hold lots of concerts, we decided that some of our favorite content creators on the internet, a couple production houses like NPR Tiny Desk or Audio Tree Live, were where they were making these really cool sessions. And then, you know, me and Sergio, we sat down and we said, hey, we could do something like that. And so that's exactly what we did. We got in touch with Phoneboy, our hometown heroes, and we
who is in the chat today?
Hey guys.
At least 1/3 of them.
Yeah, Wynn's here. Hey, Wynn. We found we got a great day in October, and we recorded them, and then we produced a great session, and really excited to show you all.
Yeah, we've dealt with everything from, you know, video production, audio production, rights management, like figuring out finances, a business model, like, because we want to do this after grad too, you know, hopefully just be a production company that, you know, does live videos for bands that warm people's soul and make them feel like they're at some kind of show, maybe. So I'm just gonna play you guys like the intro and one song. The actual video is out at 9 p.m. tonight on our YouTube channel. You can find us on Instagram at BirdieHousey. But yeah, you'll have to tune in yourself to see the interview part. But I'll show you the intro and the first song to keep it tight.
I heard your missing turns and your favorite 3 words. I'm not too gone, the TV's on until I learn a simple way to pretend that we're in 1987. Throw it into first, cause you're so tempting. Paint me a picture of you. Paint me a picture of you. Of you. I heard you're someone else, falling off the top shelf. I'm here for you, be here for me until I learn. Cigarettes like to burn out to the filter when you're sleeping, waking up in pieces every weekend. Oh, I just want your lips to taste. I just want my lips to taste like you. Paint me a picture of you. Of you. Paint me a picture of you. Paint me a picture of you. Of you.
That's it for now.
Thank you, Sergio and Martin. Okay, we're going to move on to Alex Weedrock, whose advisor is Professor Durakulou. This is a composition of a modern symphonic poem. This is an audio presentation with visuals. Take it away. Wonderful. Thank you, Alex. Congratulations. Okay, next, we're going to try to move it along here. This is a presentation by Daniel Cesar, whose thesis advisor is Professor Pfefferman, and this is a scored film collage. All right, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Caesar, and I've spent the last year working on a project called the Recycled Films. This combined my interest in filmmaking with my studies in music, while also experimenting on some personal theories about expressionism and narrative in art. I believe expressionism is the most powerful tool in the artist's toolbox. It allows us to create something both universal and profoundly personal. In my experience, all music has innate narrative capabilities, but this ability is an expressionist concept at its core, based in implicit emotions and atmospheres rather than explicit images and details. Every listener, to varying degrees, will play out a different story when listening to a piece of music, and the Recycled Films explore this concept in a unique way. The project originated as a live performance concept for musicians and video jockey, but transformed into a duo of short films due to the limitations of COVID-19. I compiled a collection of public domain footage from the Prelinger archives. Using these materials, I edited together 2 silent films, amalgamations of the recycled footage with no explicit through line or connection. This collage-style video art is tied together into a filmic experience through an original score for an electroacoustic piano and synthesizer ensemble. Each viewer is invited to interpret a different resulting narrative from the interaction between the film and its score. The music itself is influenced by minimalist composers using repetition, timbre, and space as key compositional techniques. Those techniques also support the narrative experience of the films. These 2 elements of visuals and music exist on their own and come together into a cohesive sum greater than its parts. The creation of music is influenced by the creation of the film and vice versa to keep them separate yet coherent. In preparation for my creative process, I explored the delineation between absolute, programmatic, and incidental music and learned that the delineation, so far, exists only to box music into categories. I see these terms more like lenses to be used in the creation and in the discussion on music. We can view all music as a formal art, as a narrator, and as visual accompaniment. Each of these lenses offer invaluable exploration to composers through the understanding of musical narration, of formal technique and listenability, and of transcendent scale through visual accompaniment. The final part of my work was a comparative analysis against materials that similarly fit the approach to musical storytelling of the recycled films. The examples showcased here all display a different interaction of music and visuals together in the filmic medium. Some of them utilize traditional narrative techniques, while others are more experimental in nature. The main focus is that of the execution of our aforementioned 3 lenses in these works. My challenge as a composer was to capture a similar experience in my project, where the music exists simultaneously as a formal idea through the music itself, a narrative experience, and an atmospheric accompaniment to the visuals. Using the lenses as part of the creative process is easy to understand, but ensuring that they all exist at once is key. This allows the work to explore the border between an explicitly tied together narrative and something implicit where you're never quite sure what's exactly happening. Without further ado, please enjoy a short clip from one of the recycled films entitled Youth, Maturity, Old Age, and Death, and check out the full videos on my Expo page or on YouTube at Daniel Caesar.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Dan. The next presentation will be by Eli Trachtenberg, This is a multimedia installation. Eli's thesis advisor is Professor Pfefferman. All right, take it away.
All right, let me just, can everyone see this? Cool. My name is Eli, and my music and technology thesis project is titled Aesthetics of a Memory, Queer Pleasure in Retrospect. So to start, it's highly important to mention that anonymity and respect are really key to this work, and they're both a core part of the inspiration and in the project that I made based on the inspiration. Spaces made by and for marginalized communities are sacred, and they have and continue to provide the opportunity to safely express oneself. And few places say, come as you are and mean it, and Submit is one of them. And this work is really not a documentary or an attempt to replace the original space. It still exists, and depending on how COVID safety plays out, we might celebrate its 21st birthday this year. And the massive shifts that this past year and a half have introduced are really likely to change what Submit looks like. And I wanted to really cement the memories of the last few events before lockdown as kind of a tangible representation. And I would best describe this project as a love letter to the space as it was. So Submit has really held an interesting place in the landscape of the kind of New York City queer scene. And having worked there for the past 2 years, I've seen hundreds of people find joy, love, heartbreak, pleasure, and excitement within its walls. And the more people that I'd spoken to about their experiences, a pattern emerged. People really consistently referenced like this specific iconography and relationships to the space. So I began to ponder a few questions like, what is the essence of Submit? What senses are engaged in this space, and how are they engaged in a way that differs from other spaces? And what does reopening mean for a space that thrives on touch and intimacy? So as I asked other people and myself these questions and pored over the few photos and other media that exist of the space, I started to really distill what the feelings people referred to actually were. And I think my best guess was mystery, discovery, experimentation, and a safe place to kind of explore all these avenues. And they really helped give people the license to experience pleasure in ways that they might not have been able to do in their day-to-day lives. Here we go. And as I worked on exploring this, I found it especially important to have a component of the history of this event be prominently displayed in my installation. That's kind of an homage to it. Red, who's the founder of the 21-ish-year-old party, has told us stories of Submit over the years as we've worked. And I never really known exactly how this party really came into existence. And it felt really appropriate to interview Red and to have that interview play in the space itself. And much like the way I had heard those stories in the setting of Submit, I really wanted people to experience the installation in a way that they can both hear and observe the history while engaging with its physical form. So I began collecting items which have held meaning to those who've enjoyed Submit, either as attendees, workers, or volunteers. And asking what was in their Submit bag gave me a lot to work with. And there are items from both the original space and from people who've attended the parties over the years. And as someone who's cleaned the space before and after the parties, there's always an eccentric array of items to be found, whether that's a well-polished and very handsome bell pepper, a spare bottle of poppers, dreidels, toys, harnesses, apparently dentures at some point, and a variety of other eccentric items. And in the installation, I've put a lot of these items on display. So for example, the image in the upper panel depicts a bottle of poppers that I'd actually found at the last Submit before lockdown. The VHS tapes in the upper right corner are displayed at the party, and the paddles on the bottom right corner were found and left unclaimed a few months before lockdown began. And as a former leatherworking apprentice, some of my own creations are in the space, and I included them in the installation, such as the cuffs on the bottom right. So all in all, it took about 4 months to construct this installation, and I had started with sound. By arranging the few audio recordings that exist of the space with the mixes made by the resident DJ Joe, and in addition to a lot of the kind of tapes that play in the background of the party, I really began to construct a soundscape of the space. And my goal was that for anyone who had been there before, upon listening to the soundscape, they would immediately know where they are supposed to be. And then I started working on the sensory elements of the space, and I assembled a structure that felt like the venue itself, with the paint colors and the structure, and the shape and form of it. And I really started tracking how people would move around the space to make sure that the installation was really emulating what the space was like before everything shut down. And lastly, I fine-tuned and arranged all of these items and the lighting and the sound to really feel like the venue. And after showing my project to people familiar with the original party, the feelings of nostalgia really came flooding in. And it's also really helped us to envision the future of the space that we hold really dear. And that is my presentation. Thank you to Lainey for being an awesome advisor, to Red for being willing to be interviewed for like 2 hours for this. And my partner supplemented the project with the neon sign.
Thank you very much, Eli. That was fantastic. Okay, we're going to move on in the interest of time here. Matt Drahobel, whose thesis advisor is Professor Brick, will be doing an audio presentation, music for a video game project. So,
hi, my name is Matthew Drahobel, and for my thesis project, I worked closely with a computer science senior design group to produce, mix, and master a soundtrack for their cyberpunk-inspired roguelite video game. I met with the devs every week to discuss the aesthetic for the game as a whole, determine their needs for the soundtrack, and to get their feedback on my works in progress.
Hello there.
While I did not face challenges delivering music that fit the devs' needs, that
sent
was
you a
mostly
link
due to
to
all
a-
of the time I spent delving into the production of the genres that I needed to channel for this soundtrack, including techno, synthwave, and dark synth. With this soundtrack, I used a lot of the VST plugin Serum for the heavier sounds, and on some of the tracks I also used Arturia's emulation of older analog synthesizers such as the Yamaha DX7 or the Roland Juno 106 to deliver retro synth sounds that are reminiscent of the 80s. Lastly, I filled out the arrangement of the tracks using the Roland System 8 in K350 and its versatile sound palette. The track I'm about to play is the main gameplay theme, and is meant to channel a dark industrial warehouse space with armed guards around every corner, and heavy consequences if the player messes up. It is meant to bring stress to the player, and to heighten their experience evading and taking out these guards while maneuvering throughout the level. I hope you enjoy. I hope you've enjoyed this selection of my project. If you would like to listen to the full thing, It's currently available on my SoundCloud account, Obsolescent, and I also have plans to release it to all major streaming platforms over the summer, alongside a couple of other soundtracks that I've made for video games and some personal projects. Be sure to check that out, but for now, thank you for watching.
I assume he's the first presenter.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. We have one more presentation from the M&T graduating seniors. I hear some, if you could just mute your mics if you're not presenting. Last one. This is Win Barnum. Thesis advisor is Professor Thomas. And this is an audio presentation. This is a video recording of an EP recording solo project. Take it away, Win.
If you say I'm not sorry, who's to say you read our story? Chapter 1, we meet in Phoenix. Chapter 2 is something seen in nothing's getting past me. Don't act it when you pass me, baby. Nothing's getting past me. Don't act it when you pass me, baby. If you say I'm not sorry, my heart breaks when you stop calling. Say 10 digits, dial tone, dealing with this on my own. Nothing's getting past me. Don't act it when you pass me, baby. Nothing's getting past me. Don't act it when you pass me, baby. Stare at the ground wherever we're walking. You had something to say, but who's talking? I'll find the words too late, and you're gone now. I had something to say, but I'm alone now. Stare at the ground wherever we're walking. You had something to say, but who's talking? I'll find the words too late, and you're gone now. I had something to say, but I'm alone now. On and on and on. If I could just understand what's wrong, if you could just listen to your song. It's gone an hour way too long, so I'll just go on and on and on. If I could just understand what's wrong, if you could just listen to your song. This God goes on and on and on. Stare at the ground wherever we're walking. You had something to say, but who's talking? I'll find the words too late, and you're gone now. I had something to say, but I'm alone now. On and on and on. If I could just understand what's wrong, if you could just listen to your song. This God goes on and on and on. On and on and on. If I could just understand what's wrong, if you could just listen to your song. This God goes on and on and on. On and on and on. If I could just understand what's wrong, if you could just listen to your song. This God goes on and on and on.
Is that good?
I'm biased, but that was very good. Great job, Win, and great job, everyone who presented. Congratulations.